I finally moved out of my parents' house last week after years of being treated like a doormat. Now my family is blowing up my phone saying I'm selfish and ungrateful. I finally moved out of my parents' house last week after years of being treated like a doormat. Now my family is blowing up my phone saying I'm selfish and ungrateful. I need some outside perspective on whether I'm the here. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My siblings are Jake 26 meters, Maya 24 pf, and Zach 22 meters. Our parents always favored my brothers and treated Mia and me differently growing up. The boys got new clothes and toys while Maya and I got hand-me-downs. They got to play sports and have friends over, but we had to help with chores. It wasn't fair, but we got used to it. Things got worse when I finished college 6 years ago. I couldn't find a job in my field right away, so I moved back home. My parents said I could stay rent-free if I helped around the house. That seemed fair at first, but over time their expectations kept growing. I was working part-time at a coffee shop, but they acted like I was unemployed and lazy. They wanted me to do all the cooking, cleaning, and laundry for the whole family. I also had to run errands, drive my siblings around, and babysit my cousin's kids for free. If I tried to say no or set boundaries, they called me selfish and ungrateful. They said I owed them for letting me live there. My dad would yell and my mom would guilt trip me. My brothers joined in too, calling me useless and a freeloader. Only Mia was on my side, but she couldn't do much since she was away at college. I kept trying to move out, but something always came up. My car broke down and I had to pay for repairs. Then I lost my job when the coffee shop closed. I got another part-time gig, but it barely covered my student loans. My parents always found excuses for why I couldn't leave, yet things hit rock bottom last year. I finally landed a decent full-time job in my field. I was excited to start saving money to move out, but then my parents dropped a bombshell. They said since I had a real job now I needed to pay them $1,000 a month in rent. That was almost half my take-home pay. I tried to argue that it was too much, especially since I was still doing all the household work. They said I should be grateful they weren't charging me market rate when I mentioned moving out. Instead, they freaked out. My mom cried and said I was abandoning the family. My dad threatened to disown me. I gave in and agreed to pay the rent, but I was miserable. I was working 40+ hours a week at my day job, then coming home to cook and clean for everyone on weekends. I was still expected to run errands and babysit. I had no social life and no time for myself. My brothers made things worse. They're both in college now, but they live at home and don't pay rent or do any chores. They expected me to clean their rooms, do their laundry, and make them food on demand if I refuse. They complained to her parents that I was being mean to them. The final straw came last month. It was my one day off after working 12 days straight. I was exhausted and just wanted to rest, but my mom woke me up early and handed me a long to-do list. It included deep cleaning the whole house, going grocery shopping, and preparing a big family dinner because my aunt was coming over. I said I was too tired and suggested we order takeout instead. My mom got angry and said was lazy and selfish. She yelled that I should be thankful for everything they do for me. My dad and brothers joined in calling me ungrateful and useless. I snapped. I told them I was sick of being treated like Cinderella. I said it wasn't fair that I paid rent and did all the work while my brothers got free ride. I pointed out all the ways they'd taken advantage of me over the years. They didn't take it well. My dad called me dramatic and said I was making things up. My mom cried and said I was hurting her on purpose. My brothers laughed and said I was just jealous of them. No one listened or tried to see my side. That's when I realized nothing was ever going to change. I decided then and there that I was done being a doormat. I went to my room, packed a bag, and left. I checked into a cheap motel and started apartment hunting the next day. But I got lucky and found a small studio I could afford. I moved in last week with just my clothes and a few personal items. I left most of my stuff behind because I didn't want to deal with my family at first. There was radio silence from my parents and brothers, but once they realized I was serious about leaving, they started blowing up my phone. My mom sent tearful voicemails begging me to come home. My dad texted angry messages calling me selfish and immature. My brother sent nasty emails accusing me of abandoning the family. Extended family members have been reaching out too. Some are supportive, but others are taking my parents' side. My aunt said I'm ungrateful for everything my parents have done for me. My uncle said I'm tearing the family apart over nothing. My grandma said I'm breaking my mother's heart and I'll regret this when they're gone. The only one who's been supportive is my sister, Mia. She said she's proud of me for standing up for myself. She admitted she'd been afraid to come home on breaks because of how they treated me. She's thinking of moving out of the dorms and getting an apartment with me. It's been a week now, and I'm still getting constant calls and messages from family. They switch between guilt tripping, love bombing, and threats. They say things like, I'm abandoning my family when they need me most. They'll be forced to sell the house if I don't pay rent. My brothers will fail college without me there to help them. I'm being selfish and only thinking of myself. I'm not a real adult. If I can't handle family responsibilities, I'll never survive on my own, and I'll crawling back. I've blocked most of them, but they keep finding ways to contact me. They've even shown up at my workplace twice. I'm thinking of changing my number and not telling anyone in the family, except me. A part of me feels guilty. I know my parents struggled when we were kids and they did their best. Maybe I am being selfish by only thinking of myself now, and I worry about how they'll manage without me there to do everything. But another part of me feels free for the first time in years. I can come and go as I please. I only have to clean up after. I'm rediscovering old hobbies and making new friends. I feel like I can breathe again. So Reddit, should I have stayed and kept helping my family? Am I selfish for moving out and cutting contact, or was I right to stand up for myself? I'm still new to setting boundaries and I'm doubting myself. Any advice or perspective would be appreciated. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thank you all for the supportive comments and advice. Answer some common questions. Yes, I'm in therapy now. It's helping me process, access everything, and learn to set healthy boundaries. I'm looking into legal options to protect myself, including a restraining order if the workplace visits continue. I've started reconnecting with old friends I lost touch with due to family obligations. It feels good to have a support system. Again, Maya and I are serious about getting a place together. We're apartment hunting this weekend. I don't plan on cutting contact permanently, but I need space right now to heal and grow. I'll reassess in a few months. Update. Hey Reddit, it's been about 3 months since my last update and things have taken a wild turn. I'm back to ask for advice because I'm really struggling with what to do next. About a month after my last post, Mia called me in tears. She said things at home had gotten really bad. Our parents were trying to change, but Jake and Zach were making it impossible. They refused to get jobs or do any chores. They were constantly fighting with our parents and each other. Maya said she couldn't take it anymore. She asked if she could come stay with me for a while. Of course, I said yes. She moved in the next day with just a suitcase of clothes. At first, we thought it would be temporary, but as weeks passed, it became clear Maya didn't want to go back. We talked about it and decided to make it permanent. We adjusted our budget and made space for her things. It was tight, but we made it work. Our parents were upset when Maya told them she was staying with me. They begged her to come home, saying they needed her help with Jake and Zach, but Maya stood her ground. She told them she needed to put herself first for once. Meanwhile, things at our parents' new condo got worse. Jake and Zach refused to look for their own places. They treated the condo like a hotel, making messes and expecting our parents to clean up after them. They stayed out late partying and slept all day. Our parents tried to set rules, but Jake and Zach just ignored them. When our parents threatened to kick them out, the boys reminded them that they had nowhere else to go. They accused our parents of favoring Maya and me by paying off our loans. Maya and I felt guilty, but we knew going back wouldn't solve anything. We encouraged our parents to stand firm with Jake and Zach. We thought tough love might finally make our brothers grow up. But then about 2 weeks ago, everything exploded. Our mom called me crying. She said Jake and Zach had gone behind their backs and talked to a lawyer. They were trying to contest our parents. Well, apparently Jake and Zach argued that since Maya and I had abandoned the family, we shouldn't get any inheritance. They wanted our parents to sign over everything to them. They even wanted our parents to take out a second mortgage on the condo to give them money. Now, I was furious. How could they be so selfish? But I was also worried. Our parents weren't young, and Jake and Zach could be very manipulative. I was afraid they might wear our parents down. Maya and I tried to talk to our brothers, but they wouldn't listen. They said we'd made our choice when we left, and now they were looking out for themselves. They accused us of turning our parents against them. We thought that was the end of it. We figured our parents would shut down Jake and Zach's ridiculous demands, but we were wrong. 3 days ago, our dad called. He sounded defeated. He said Jake and Zach had given them an ultimatum: either sign over everything to them or they'd contest the will and drag everyone through a long legal battle. Our parents' caved. They signed papers giving Jake and Zach control of all their assets. They thought this would finally make peace in the family, but it didn't. The very next day, Jake and Zach told our parents to move out of the condo. They said they were selling it and wanted our parents gone. By the end of the week, our parents were shocked. They couldn't believe Jake and Zach would turn on them like this. They begged the boys to reconsider, but Jake and Zach wouldn't budge. They said our parents should have thought about their future before paying off mine and Maya's loans. Now our parents were facing homelessness. They called me in tears, asking if they could stay with Maya and me. They said they had nowhere else to go. I was torn. On one hand, these were our parents, they had raised us and recently at least had tried to make amends for past mistakes. I felt bad for them, but on the other hand, I was angry. This whole mess was partly their fault. They had enabled Jake and Zach's bad behavior for years. Even now, they had given in to Jake and Zach's demands instead of standing up to them. Part of me felt they were facing the consequences of their own actions. Plus, our apartment was already crowded with Maya and me. We didn't really have space for two more people, and I worried that if our parents moved in, we'd fall back into old patterns I had worked hard to establish. My independence, and I didn't want to risk losing that. After talking it over with Maya, I made a hard decision. I told our parents they couldn't stay with us. I explained that our apartment was too small and that I thought it would be unhealthy for all of us to live together again, and instead I suggested they go back and stand up to Jake and Zach. I said they should talk to a lawyer of their own and fight to keep their condo. I offered to help them find legal aid if they couldn't afford a lawyer. My parents were hurt and angry. My mom cried and said she couldn't believe I would turn them away. My dad said he was disappointed in me and that this proved I didn't really care about family. I stood firm, but it was hard. I felt guilty and sad. I wondered if I was being too harsh, but I also felt it was necessary to maintain the boundaries I had worked so hard to establish. Mia supported my decision, but I could tell she felt torn too. She suggested we could help our parents find a small apartment to rent, or maybe a room in a shared house. We agreed to look into options for them. That was 2 days ago. Since then, our phones have been blowing up with messages from family and friends. Some people support us, saying our parents need to solve their own problems. Others think we're being cruel and selfish. Jake and Zach are gloating. They've been posting on social media about how they're now in charge of the family assets. They're acting like they've won some sort of victory. Our parents are still at the condo, but Jake and Zach are threatening to call the police if they don't leave soon. Our parents keep calling and texting, begging us to reconsider. They say they'll do anything if we let them stay with us. I'm standing by my decision, but I'm really struggling. I can't help but wonder if I'm doing the right thing. Am I being too harsh? Should I have let them stay despite my reservations? Am I just repeating the cycle of family members taking advantage of each other? I'm also worried about the future. What if Jake and Zach burn through all the money and our parents end up with nothing for retirement? Will that burden fall on Maya and me? Should we be doing more to protect our parents' assets even if they won't do it themselves? And I'm sad. Despite everything, these are still my parents and brothers. I hate seeing my family torn apart like this. I wonder if there was anything I could have done differently to prevent this outcome. So Reddit, I could really use some outside perspective. Am I the for not letting my parents stay with us? Should I be doing more to help them? How do I balance taking care of myself with family obligations? Any advice on how to handle this situation would be really appreciated.